Are we live?
I
Hello,
don't know.
everyone.
Looks
What's
like
going on?
it's still running, but usually I see that when it's still running, actually it's already on.
Yeah.
So let me wait for the
It's
yes,
it
no,
says it has a beautiful notification here. Meeting is now streaming on Facebook. It's always a little uh,
it's on.
exciting. Yeah, I see you're live.
Okay,
I as well got a Facebook notification. Hello, everyone.
awesome. Hello everyone. Hello Merlijn.
Hey, Ivan.
That is, it's quite a time we didn't see each other's.
Right. It's really been a while since we saw each other live
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
we usually see each other at advanced classes or at facilitators, and I
Yeah,
move my schedule around quite a lot,
yeah.
and I've
So
been
maybe
mainly
we'll talk
creating in the
about that.
Netherlands.
So so tonight, we are doing this live for the guest time number, I don't know, 6 or 5, I don't know. And I have had quite some men actually as guests, but next time will be women. Next time will be women also. So don't be afraid. But we're still men. I don't know. Actually, we're more than men, right?
I am undefined anyway. No, just
Yeah, you're
kidding.
undefined. I
Just
think we all
kidding.
undefined. Maybe we'll talk about that. Uh,
Ah, yeah.
So I'm very grateful for you to be here tonight, and I would like to start with something today because I've put the title I've put of this live was about allowance and the intimacy that we can have with the earth, but also the magic of allowance. And to start with, it came to my mind like a few minutes ago. The first time I've met you was like 4 years ago or something. It was in Rome. It was an access consciousness class, certified facilitator class. And when I saw you coming in the room, there was about, I don't know, 400 person or so. And you were wearing heels, high heels, right? Those black
Correct.
heels. And when I saw you, so who is this motherfucker? Like, my first thought was like, judging you. And then in a few seconds, something happened by the magic of this group, maybe, or I think more accurately, by the freedom that you had, by the allowance that you had for yourself at this time. It was pervading. It was shining, and I received it, and it kind of overpowered me in the sense where at this moment I have touched to a space of mine which was allowance. And I have to say, I had never experienced that before. So you remember I told you?
I remember it totally. It's so funny because we didn't even talk about this before going on, and it passed my head as well that that could be one of the things you might want to talk about. And there we go. Yeah, yeah, you told me that was a life-changing experience for a lot of people, and that I love that magic of allowance, because what is magic of allowance for me is as well kind of like just receiving without a point of view. And when you're a dude like I am, and you walk into a room full of 400 people wearing like really high heels. Actually, I just wore them today for the recording, the exact same heels.
Was it the
um
first time?
uh, it was not the first time. No, I had done theater for a long
In
time,
theater.
but it was not it was not in a like more a business conference setting. That was a first.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was the first.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was the first. What I wanted to create is like, I noticed that I was not really in allowance, totally in allowance, or I was just kind of like working on getting more in allowance of me. And I
Exactly.
realized that I was not so much at peace with all the energies and vibes, and especially people, and what I would call like, let me not define it more, people in general, that were gonna be in the conference room.
Yeah.
And it was kind of hard for me, because sometimes you just come to find out things about people that you thought were your friends, or all
Yeah, yeah.
this kind of like ideas.
What did it bring to you? Like, what did it bring as a new experience of receiving? Because that's actually the subject of this group, which is pleasure for Earth. But
Yeah,
pleasure is like everything about receiving.
yeah.
So what did it bring you, this experience? Where did you go after that experience, thanks to that experience, into a new
It was more of a space, because the magic of allowance, I think, starts with you. You got to be in allowance, like being what I would call like, wow, everything is like an interesting experience, an
yeah,
interesting energy.
yeah.
It's the same as, the earth wouldn't even have those ideas. But as people, those are kind of like words that kind of like create that space, and
Yeah.
where you can be like, I would say, omni receiving. You can like receive everything. You can receive judgments coming your way. You can receive what that might bring up for you. You might receive the power that has as well, and the
Mm.
transformation that's occurring. Because if I would have had like for example, of course, I notice people become uncomfortable around me all the time. I even had a conversation with Access Consciousness founder Gary Douglas about it, and he was like, "So, what do you like about wearing those high heels?" And
Mm.
it just gave this kind of like this energy, and then it was like, "Wow, it's basically to bring up judgment in people,
Yeah,
and for it to change." Because
yeah.
that is what always happened. And when for example, I saw you when I got in. I still
Mhm.
remember. I saw you when I got in. I saw that, and I think you even turned away, like you had to separate for a moment to cultivate, and then
Absolutely.
you looked again, and then, because what happens in those moments that you see something that you're either not used to or it's new, there is a transformation, there is a change, there are things going on in your head, it is bringing up judgments, and like, I just stopped making all of that stuff real, so all of that can change
So
as
is that the moment
either.
where is that the moment where you actually stop to judge yourself?
Yeah, yeah. Well,
That's so
no, there
great.
was not the specific moment, but it was another playful experience to
Yeah.
see
Okay.
how far I could go.
Yeah.
And so that was like a part of the magic of allowance as well. I never dared to bring up like judgment in people and in their worlds, but more from a transformational point of view.
So that's very interesting because most of the time we actually do everything to avoid judgment from people.
Yeah,
And as you're talking about a way to allow yourself and a way to actually start to receive from yourself,
yeah, yeah,
this shows, can we talk more about that? How much we
yeah.
actually don't allow ourselves that?
Yeah, well, it's
Because
like, well, good question. How often do we not like choose to receive from, everything that we can be, and everything that we can do, and everything that is available to us? Like, this might be a bit of a fake concept for some people, but in my sense, what, like, we have infinite possibilities, we're infinite beings, but and we have this body. Like, I have a male body. It's worked out pretty well in the eyes of this world, you
Mhm.
know so I just started asking questions like, hey, what judgments can I use that people have of me to get more in allowance of what I am and what I'm
Ah,
not willing to be? So I was not, I was,
that's beautiful. Can you repeat that one?
what judgment can I, wow, shit.
Can I allow
Oh, can
people
I
to,
duplicate it?
what
Well,
judgment can I allow people to have on me
and so
so that you allow
what
yourself?
judgments do people have of me that I can start using in my advantage? Basically, that was
Yeah.
including in that energy also.
So that's
And
a way to say, excuse me a moment. That's a way to
yeah,
say that actually we usually, I mean, I don't know, but I've been passing my life avoiding judgment from people. I mean, I've been like avoiding, does it mean that I've been avoiding me all that time?
well, like, do we even go that rational about it? Like a lot of it is, like, I would say, just behavior patterning and doing stuff as we used to, based on the choices we've made, like, and the energy we have duplicated from, throughout our lives, until you
Mhm.
realize that, you might not, or you start asking a question like that. It's like, hey, can I use this to my advantage? Like, if someone says, you faggot, like, I hardly get screamed at anymore for being gay, which I don't really think of myself as gay anymore, because
Well, we also have to say that you use also to wear drag clothes and to play as an
yeah,
actor, dancer, singer. So
yeah,
you're making a full art out of you, and
yeah.
you
I think that's
you play with this, yeah.
sorry. Sorry,
Mhm.
no, yeah, sorry. Yeah, no, but totally on point. Because, like, I come from theater. I have a theater background. And when um what what was so cool about theater is that you can be anything.
Yeah.
You can choose to be anything and not have a point of view about it.
Hmm.
And often that's considered fake.
Hmm.
And then I was like, well, what is actually even real?
Yeah.
What if we are possibilities? But we think I thought it was so real. But especially I thought it was so real for picking up on the judgments all the time. I mean, how many of the listeners as well are kind of like sensitive to energy, thoughts, feelings, emotions, and we might do
Well,
stuff with that until we realize that we might not have to do stuff with that, or
can
that
I,
we
can I excuse me? Can I say to people why we have actually postponed 1 hour later finally?
yeah, go ahead. I think it's a nice story. And I'm glad I'm sitting here like this.
Yeah, like Merlin, you actually contacted me like 2 hours ago and told me, hey, look, I'm in the middle of a shooting right now, and I'm wearing a drag cloth. I'm in drag, so drag queen, right? That means so. Do you think it's okay if I do the live like this? And I say, yeah, well, yes, sure. Let's see, whatever that creates, you come with what you are. And finally, we choose to postpone because it was in the middle of your shooting, so it was more
Well,
comfortable.
it's funny because we just went over time. We went way
Yeah.
later, and things worked out better than we could imagine possible. So
Yeah.
that is a great thing, and thank you so much for being flexible.
Yeah,
Because I
well,
was
you're
like,
so
oh my
much
god, that's
welcome.
so unprofessional.
Not
I
at
could
all.
go.
That's just
I,
as an
but the
artist.
thing is, I actually had no point of view about asking you, because I was
Yeah,
like, I
yeah,
might just ask, because so often we already start predefining what the answer will be, or that's not possible, that's this and that's yada yada yada. The thing is that right now, like, I used to have that and make that really real and not ask a question because of it. And now and just notice all those thoughts anyway and go like, okay, well, interesting.
okay.
What would create if I ask if we can either postpone or what else is possible, just riffing in with it. And that's just kind of like a daily life example for me, the magic of allowance. Because of course, like, it brought like, oh, did it bring anything up for you? It's like, oh my God, like organized, like my head would go like on overdrive probably.
Now that was totally like really. I just had to change a few settings, and that was it.
Oh,
Um, what
it's
I'm
easy.
interested, I'm interested in the way you, I mean, what you have said about this, connecting to who you are and allowing yourself to be this infinite being that you are. Sometimes a man, sometimes a woman, sometimes everything, sometimes neither one nor the other, and allowing yourself to provoke other people's judgments in order to let go of this reaction, and from that, to just connect to more people and to with yourself. What I'm interested in is relating to the earth, relating to your relation to the earth. How
Mhm.
does this brought you to more intimacy with it? What is your experience of connecting with the earth?
Yeah, well, um, connect my experience in connecting with the earth is basically was for me already realizing that I'm in a great communion with the earth already ever since I was born here. It's just
And
we don't really realize that. I didn't realize that. Did you?
well, I didn't. For me, I mean, like, just I'm not the subject tonight, but for me, connecting to the earth was a way to disconnect from this world. And I have recently discovered that actually it was a key to connect with this world and with the people of this world, not the opposite. And what you're saying tonight is actually you're talking about the people, the way you interact with the people. And it's fantastic because it is you're talking about the earth through the people. It's
Yeah.
like, right?
Yeah,
It's as if, yeah.
because the planet has this power that is it doesn't judge. And funnily enough, as a kid, I was not an outside kid at all. I hated this world. I didn't want to be here. And now I ask all these questions like, okay, who did that belong to? You know, kind of like so aware, so open. And I had no, I think I was more like a space being than like an earthly being. But I had somehow landed up on Earth.
How many
Uh,
how many of us feel like that? How many of you, what does it ring for you to hear that? Thank you for saying it.
yeah, it's kind of like it made so much sense to me. It's like I would like ponder and look at the sky and just have this weird sense of sadness so often, but I had no clue, and I didn't understand why people did things the way they did, why people were so mean or thinking things and thinking why people were thinking things.
Yeah, yeah.
Why did people were thinking things? So realizing how telepathic we actually are, especially at that age when you're not so brainwashed by this world. um it is when I started realizing that I actually, you know, I was not my body, the first thing,
Okay, so you
because I
were different from your body.
a lot of my connection with the earth has come through my body, obviously, because you know the body is like, you know, our earth body,
So you're saying that
right?
by acknowledging your body as something else than you also acknowledge the earth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you acknowledge your body today, like, hey, like if you, like, for example, right now, for whoever's listening and whenever you're listening, it's like, have you acknowledged, like, totally acknowledge your body today? Or have you just kind of dragged it along or let it kind of like lead the way for you? Because that's another, and it can lead the way in what it knows. But
Can you please talk
yeah.
more about that, about the body? Because you are the one person that I know that have a relation to his body that I've never seen anywhere else. So that's really, and that's always fascinating. It's like it's always rising questions in my mind.
Yeah.
So can you say more about how much you relate with your body? What
I can. I
that will
can.
count for the earth.
I can. God, where to start?
What happened when you discovered that you were not your body, that you were different from your body?
Well, I started creating with it, and it came through a personal crisis. My
Oh,
body was sick. So it was more of like, fuck, what now? What am I gonna do?
yeah.
And I just didn't feel well. I got depressed over it,
Mm.
and there were a lot of stories attached to it, which are very relatable to the day and age we are in now with the whole
What was
global
that? What's
pandemic.
that? Stories of
Well,
what?
we have a pandemic going on. We have something that, you know, could be, you know, like dangerous to people. So well, and I kind of like went to a point that my body nearly died of it.
Yeah.
And I'm writing a book about all of this, so I'm not giving full disclosures here, but what happened is that all everywhere I wanted to even change my body, because how often do we want to change our body because
Oh, okay.
we're unhappy with it, or we think something's wrong with it, or we think so basically we're putting judgment on our bodies, and through that we're facilitating judgment to the earth.
Awesome.
When we are putting judgment in the soil, basically by walking like a walking judgment, you know,
Mm.
even though sometimes you know it just kind of goes to sleep, but then it revs up the moment you like look in the mirror, or
Mm.
when you try on clothes, or when you have sex, or when you get in relationship or physical with others, because that is, or when you get judgments from others. Yeah,
Mm.
that can be all sort of like situations um where you can be confronted, or what that will bring up that those ideas, and
Mm.
mostly I would say those false beliefs, because not how much of that does really ring true to an infinite being who would be happy.
Mm.
Like none of it. But the thing is, it is there. So what now? So yeah, well, I got to spend I don't know, 6 weeks with myself in the hospital, hooked up to, ventilators, because my lungs had collapsed. And that was what a lot of people don't realize. I mean, that's why I always say when I facilitate, it's like, you know what, you have choice. You can like start getting an allowance by doing interesting point of view for everything, or you can maybe try to die and kill your body at the same time, and get to allowance through that. Which path do you want? You have choice in the ways you can like do it in your daily life, or you can make it as horrendous as you would like. But then again, there were so many gifts in this situation, because
So what did it bring this from when you get out of it?
Through that experience, I had so much resistance to the planet. I had so much resistance to this reality. And this sounds more like a bit of a drama story, but here's the transformation. At a certain point, it like none of it seemed relevant. And then I actually started from scratch. This might sound like kind of like a bit of a fast life change.
What did you use at this moment? Because this might talk to several people,
Interesting point of view.
What is this interesting point of view?
Interesting point of view is, I would say, a tool, a couple of words. Like we can choose words. We can say, "Oh my God, I found this terrible," or "What a terrible thing." We often go to like, "Oh my God, that's not good." For example, me going in the hospital. Oh, it's not good. And then I was already access consciousness facilitator. So I had the most horrendous idea that I had failed as a person and as a facilitator, because I had landed up in a hospital.
Oh.
Had I not been in communion with my body, had I not been asking questions, well, I had been asking a lot of questions, but one of the things I wasn't being willing to let go of was the judgment that my body was wrong, there was something wrong, and that I could not receive help.
So if we have the point of view that something is wrong about our bodies, then we create sickness. Is that what you're saying, more or less?
Well, it's one of the possibilities. How often do we create something? The thing is here, like every question we make, every choice we make creates an energy in the universe. And sometimes that choice is as well, if you, for example, live in a certain conclusion as a certain conclusion, what is living as a conclusion is basically, okay, this is the way it is. And I am just fat. I am just sick. I am just blah, blah, blah. You'll get evidence all the time. Because,
comfortable. You just have to follow what is told.
That's the magic of allowance of the universe.
Tell more about this, please.
Well, it's like, will it ever not give you what you're asking for? And the thing is,
can you say that again?
Does it ever not give us what you're asking for? And so often people say, it's like, well, so why does like ask and receive not work that well? What creates the wall between receiving? Judgment. So after that, I think maybe even my whole personality melted. I just kind of I just had to kind of like, my whole concept of reality became different, and I started living from a more creative space instead of a conclusive space.
And you started to create more with the nature and with
I mean, and that's where my body felt so good. So that's when I moved to the beach, and then I realized that so long for like through so many situations, I had not really allowed myself to really harmonize with the earth and to receive with the earth, and to actually as well cognitively engage with it, because I never even thought of the possibility before, well, I did before that hospital, but that was really a moment of kind of like, okay, so body, what do we do now? Body was getting like better really soon and really fast. It was a magical recovery, so to say. People still talk about it.
Could we say, Merlijn, could we say that the key there was the pleasure that you started to take with your body?
Oh yeah, God. The recovery, yes. It wasn't so pleasurable to, see you know, so much damage you've done to yourself, but that's where magic of allowance kicks in already. So often when we look back at a situation and we judge it, we're not allowing that magic of allowance to contribute to our future. So that's as well, it didn't just start from pleasure with the earth. It actually started when I started using allowance for what would come up in my life and what I would, kind of like, so often people just run away from what they don't want to face, so they can't be the magic of allowance. And
So once again,
now,
allowance here is not having conclusion about what
no,
you're going through.
it's like being a space. It's like
Yeah.
being a space and allowing change to occur. The same as I did with you. That was like magic of allowance. It's the same as when I'm on a way to a gig wearing full drag, and people look at me like this. If I would project at them as like, oh my God, don't look at me like that, like blah blah blah. It's like,
Mhm.
but the point is that, of
Mhm.
course they will look at you. It's like, receive it and let it change their world. If I, I used to um kind of like not even be mad at people, like how many of us have been being either bullied or kind of like being maybe even vilified or something else that, it's more like exclusive behavior, like, you're not cool or you're stupid or like, I kind of like, didn't understand that, but I had no allowance for that. I did not understand that as more of a space.
What is it that you didn't understand?
Well, the thing is, I didn't understand why people acted the way they acted, and I tried
Uh-huh.
to understand it instead of being, oh wow, interesting that they're choosing that.
So you're saying that as long as you were trying to understand their reaction, you couldn't allow
Yeah,
their
there was
reaction.
no allowance really, because if you can only kind of like, I would say there's a difference between like receiving and understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Because through receiving you might actually understand, to be quite honest, like
Oh,
you might get a sense, it might clarify stuff, and
or
so often.
you get to know what it is truly.
Yeah, exactly.
But
If you don't open the door fully, or if you start looking in and zooming in, that's what a lot of people do, like from space, and kind of like just being present with it,
well,
like
the thing,
that is like generated a lot more for me, and that's the space that I would really like to function from, and as well facilitate from, because I see people get happier in their bodies, and it's like they're happy, their families get happier, their husbands get happier if they just have more allowance for not only themselves but as well what they can be in relationship to others. So
that's a great awareness that you just bring here. Like if you try to understand the reaction of people, then you actually have to go into the judgment of it in order to choose if you accept it or reject it. But
yeah,
yeah,
correct.
so if you try to understand, you actually close the door of allowing whatever that is to be, meaning you close the door for you to receive what that is,
Yeah,
meaning you close the door of any possibilities to have pleasure
yeah,
in the body.
exactly. And
So
as
thank you,
well,
that's great.
and as well, you close the door to the possibility of asking a question. And
Yeah,
what I realized as well is like
yeah.
the earth has no point of view about changing you,
Mhm.
because it will throw a hurricane at you, it will throw like the sea coming up, it will throw a rip in the Australian Ocean. It has everything.
Mhm.
So when I realized that, and especially after that conversation with Gary, it's like, how much do you like, for messing with people and driving their fear up into their universe by wearing
Mhm.
heels?
Mhm.
Because how terrifying is it when you walk your stuff like that for so many people? They are terrified. And I realized, and I started actually, here, I didn't acknowledge this before. And when I acknowledged that
Yeah.
piece of information, I started just noticing it everywhere. But the thing
Mm,
is, it had really no significance. It was just what it was. And
mhm.
um, yeah, when you acknowledge what is, magic can occur. You can either get more of it, or you can make a different choice if it didn't work before, or you get, more information, more awareness from that specific situation by going like, oh, wow, interesting. Just knowing actually kind of like, I just recently did a program in Dutch, 14 days of allowance, 14 days of magic. There we go. An allowance is basically um every session, because if you like look at a wizard, or like how we know wizards from stories and this and that, do wizards judge? I would say wizards for for
What kind of
good.
wizards you're talking about?
Exactly, there's a many sort of wizards. I would say as a wizard, you would be willing to you would what if every wizard can do and be anything? But
So
the
what
thing
is the
is,
point about the wizards?
the wizard is would the wizard go zoom in, or would
Yeah.
the wizard have a sort of space
Uh-huh.
with something, so he or she or it can create something with it, or leave it, or more wonder and ask a question, because we often make these figures,
Mm.
or the people that in our lives that we go to, to get that. We all have our people we go to that are just kind of like just genuinely kind and wise people, so to say.
I'm
um
kind of losing you here. What?
well, what wizard are we actually,
Yeah,
that is doesn't even need thoughts, feelings, and emotions
I see.
in
Okay.
situations,
Yeah.
and that can actually have an allowance for the transformation that
All
you're
right.
creating with your whole world.
So you're saying
So,
that we're becoming actually magic at the time that we get to connect to this allowance.
well, the time
We
we
start
get
to
to,
transform things.
I would say we get to we claim to be it, because it's not that we are not it. It's like
Yeah.
we're born. Look at a baby. Have you seen a baby? Is a baby judgmental? Is a baby allowance?
So the baby is a wizard,
Well, I
you're
would
saying.
say, what do you know? I would say every person is a wizard.
Well, I have to say, Merlin, since that very day when you were referring to Gary Douglas telling you about, asking you what do you like about this, do you remember since this day, since I saw you coming on the stage, as Gary asked you to walk like a woman on the stage in front of 400 women? Do you
Yeah.
remember that?
Uh-huh.
He asked a few person and then he asked you, and then that was like, look what it is, ladies, to walk like a woman. Was you with a
Yeah.
male body and
True.
high heels. So I would say since that time, I'm not able to define whatever. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. It was just ravishing of all the ideas you had about it.
There was some there was
Yeah.
some kind of transformation there in everyone's mind.
And it's
Really.
funny because I had always kind of like shied away from that sort of attention you get with it. The thing is, I really enjoyed it. So it made the whole room happy that I did
Yeah,
that
yeah.
little walk. What did that create for our future? Just those couple of seconds. Because
Well, you know what I've seen at this time, my friend? I've seen you, Merlin, walking on this stage and being together totally in communion with the earth. That's what I've seen. I've seen you being in so much in allowing the how do you call it, sensitivity and fragility
yeah,
of
yeah,
your being through
yeah,
your body, that it was like it was moving the whole room, which was a huge room, right?
yeah,
Ballet
yeah. It
room,
was big. It was a big conference too.
because of this communion there. And that's why also I'm interested in whatever you bring as an experience with your body, because I
Yeah.
believe that you have this communion with the earth, otherwise you would be in judgment of your body, and you definitely obviously are not. And
It
that is an example for me.
it is funny because so often it doesn't feel like anything.
Uh-huh. What do you mean by that,
It
Gary?
feels it feels almost like it feels almost like it's boring.
What is boring?
Boring is more that there's not enough to do or not enough problems to fix with the bodies. A lot of people keep themselves busy with
Mhm.
fixing their body, thinking there's a
Mhm.
problem, thinking
Mhm.
there's a judgment, so it
Mhm.
cannot even show them the
Mhm.
magic.
Mhm.
For me,
How it's boring if you access to the magic if you at this moment.
yeah, good fucking question. It's like, why would we even choose that is the next question. So
Yeah.
the thing is, in the magic of allowance as well, I had to
Mhm.
acknowledge that I am a full-on, energy wizard, trans, and that is really great at transforming energy in
Mhm.
people, with people, always from a space of allowance, because I will never kind of like force anyone to do or choose anything.
Mhm.
Mainly what I realized is that I just have to show up. And how
Mhm.
many people that are listening have that exact same ability? You just have to show up and you change the energy, you change the situation, you have to you can connect your energy or your presence with something, and it gets moving. I
By
started
by
acknowledging.
your allowance, you create a space that allow them to change what they want to change. Is that
Well,
what you're saying?
exactly,
Mhm.
exactly. Amongst other things, a lot of people have never even sensed someone being with them and not judging themselves. I have a
Awesome.
friend, Alan, and Alan Jones from London, and he keeps on repeating this um, in his talks as well. Um, because I just realized that I wanted to stop judging my body or whatever what was going on with it. I never had a lot of judgment about other people's bodies. I thought I had of judgment was mainly put like I just bought into from the world around me. I
So
bought
what does
in it.
Alan do?
Was sorry.
What does Alan do?
Well, it was we were sharing a room in London or in Paris for another advanced class, and we were sharing a room, and he was like, do you mind actually sleeping in the same room? And I was like, no, that's cool, we can sleep in the same room, we can even share a bed. It's like, I don't mind. And he just walked around the place, like, getting undressed and this and that. And then all of a sudden looked at me and he was like, you really don't judge anything about me and my body, do you? And I was like, I just looked at him like trying to look for, I trying to understand. And I was like, no, why would I? Because I had just kind of like just found the pleasure of not judging my body and other bodies be so amazing. And I saw him relax all the way through, and he keeps on referring to that as like one of the biggest transformational moments. But the thing is, I was not even doing it intentionally. I was just being that non-judgmental space,
You were
and
just
that's
appreciating.
well,
That's a wonderful thing you just said, the pleasure of not judging.
yeah,
That means so much to me, you can't access pleasure if you judge. And I mean, as far as, let's say, in sex, if you go to the slightest point of judgment,
yeah,
meaning expecting something or
yeah,
projecting something instead
yeah,
of just being with what is,
yeah,
then you screw the pleasure.
yeah, yeah, literally.
Literally.
Literally. Yeah, it's like, yeah,
Okay. So
absolutely.
what could we say about this experience that you had to finish with for tonight? What could we say about this experience you had of this space of just appreciating and
Well,
allowing him to be?
yeah, you know what? Because allowance doesn't um it doesn't like really feel like anything, but it can be really intense also, because you get to be really intimate and open and vulnerable in the world.
Thank you.
Maybe that's like kind of
Mhm.
like just like the wrap up. It's really about like being intimate with not only like it's beyond what people connect intimacy with sex or with relationship or
Mhm.
touching themselves and stuff, which
Mhm.
can all be have an intimate energy to it.
Mhm.
But true intimacy is kind of like being honoring of you and honoring of your points of view and honoring of that you might have judgments running through your head and honoring that you're aware space being also
Uh-huh.
that might also be a wizard, and can transform energies because people change energy all the time. The thing is, we're not really used to kind of like engage with that from a more space point of view and more like the glimpse of, oh my god, there's another change, there's another person, changing their eye. Because kind of like, how often do we just show up and people's bodies relax? I mean, that in itself is is magic of allowance. And one of the things that I would really highly recommend everyone to do is as well ask the universe to show you, because I had no clue. I had to, well, I might have had a clue, but I really chose to like recreate and re-engage with the earth, and not even kind of like do daily walks all the time. I couldn't even at that time. So I did energy pools, but I as well like energetically creating with the earth. And I asked, is like,
Mhm.
hey, earth, universe, show me the people that already embody um, non-judgment and that are still active in their choices and
Mhm.
in their engagement with people. And then those people started showing up
Awesome.
because I had no idea about who it could be, in what way, in what situation. And I mean,
Awesome.
they were not all like Jesus, so to say, that they had like a lot of it were some really beautiful lovers actually. Like there were because like, just for the record, I have sex with men and women. But these were guys that just had a more intuitive animalistic way of being, what other people would judge as shallow. But the thing is, like, just having no judgment and just kind of like being in it like a little dog for the play. I mean, that's a whole other conversation. The magic of allowance and sex.
Okay.
That has really kind of like, I don't know, brought my body and I don't know, I think back to life in a way.
Awesome.
it
Awesome.
was it was uncomfortable, but it was really, and that's what people still sense. That's what, like, we all create our
So,
lives. That's what we bring to the table, and that's how that as well is
so
changing the world around us.
exactly. And I love the way that you actually finally come back to what you started to say. Then when you say, it also is intense. And this intensity has something uncomfortable. And if you just allow yourself to get into that space, then, I mean, I'm trying to rebuild in my way what I received from what you just said.
I
As
have
a
a word for that. I have a word for that intensity. I have
go
like
for it, and we finish with it. Choose it well, my friend.
magic monster.
Magic monster. Let's go
if
with this.
if you feel like you're being uncomfortable, it's mainly my monster mode.
Awesome.
And it's just something transforming, whether it's me or whether it's the
Okay.
planet, whether it's other people, whether it's my grandma, whether it's my
Okay.
bank account, whether it's you.
Okay, Magic Monster. We get with this. We'll go with that one. I will remember that. Thank you so much. I hope you had a little bit of fun. Are you still here? Yeah, you was freezing.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
back. I'm back.
Okay,
Just
cool.
trying the line. I
So thank
I
you, Merlin. Yeah,
You're welcome. I hope people got something out of this.
they do. I'm sure they do. Like really. Like you have a particular way to express yourself because you are you go here and here and here and here.
I'm
But
very
finally it's hyper creative, it's totally chaotic, right? And it's fascinating as well. It's part of your being, which is so fascinating, but it makes sense because you are actually talking on a whole thing. And this is very interesting for me as being very used to accompany people in their expression. When I listen to you, it's like, wow, I've never seen that before. So if you are interested, you who are watching that, to know more about Merlijn, you're doing a lot of classes online for the time being, but also live, so with your body. And I would say that would be very interesting to go and watch your website, which is actually your name. I don't know exactly how to pronounce it, but is Merlijn Wolsink?
Merlijn Wolsink, MERLIJN WOLSINK, either .com or .nl. They will all get you to my page, and I have a full page in English. I have so much content about. You know what? If people are ever interested in, it's like how the heck did, you know, this because there's so much more to add to this, obviously, but I as well have a really great video series, is Ponderings and Wanderings from the Beach, in which I talk about all this basic magic stuff, and it's me discovering in this kind of like 2 years when I was basically like started to create my life again and just sharing it with the world. And it's kind of like all these fresh tools that I'm like rediscovering, and it's very inspiring for a lot of people, and it's in English. So just check it out on YouTube if you want. And what else is
Awesome.
possible?
Thank
What can
you.
I contribute?
Thank you for what you bring as a difference.
Thank you.
It is a pure gift, because it's always creating, it's always provoking questions, and I love it. Thank you so much for that, Merlijn. Thank you for being the guest today. I wish to see you soon again. I'm sure it's going to be quicker than that we believe. Next guest will be Cass Thomas, our dear Cass Thomas, in a few days, and it will be in French, because she also speaks a wonderful French with her wonderful voice. Okay, that's it for today. See you soon somewhere, online or...
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you everyone for watching now or in the future or whenever. Mwah. Be the magic you truly are, and what else is possible.
Ciao, Merlijn. Thank you.